For this session, I will be showing you how to do something. I will demonstrate it to ensure that you know the proper steps, and then I'm going to give you time to do it on your own. Please feel free to ask any questions that you may have in the chat. I will be happy to address them for you as we go throughout the presentation. And also feel free to let me know if you need some additional time on activities or if you want me to slow down and show something again. I'm happy to do so. For our agenda today, we are going to be looking at the overall organization of modules, how flexible they are, and how they contribute to your course flow. We'll learn how to create modules, how to add content and organize them, and then we'll look at some of the managing tools that are available, such as controlled access, locking until dates, and then some additional considerations when it comes to modules. For today, you're welcome to play along as you learn. So if you want to get logged into your instance of Canvas and open up one of your sandbox courses, you're more than welcome to do so, and I encourage it. Why modules? What are they used for, right? What's the purpose behind them? Well, modules will default to be your homepage when your course is newly created. It's one of our defaults. We use them to organize your content. So whether you're providing your units by topic, unit, chapter, content type, is a way for you to organize everything for your students in a way that makes sense for the way that you are teaching. They offer a lot of flexibility. You can easily move your modules around in the order that you need them to go in, and it provides you a lot of control over the course flow. You can embed links, documents, other files, Canvas pages, assignments, quizzes, and all of those type of features within an organizational tool. You can add lock dates, completion requirements, and even prerequisites to these modules. So it's really helpful that way as well. Let me take us live into a course so you can see some examples of modules, some with best practices and some without. So right now I am in a Canvas account. I am under modules in the course navigation, and you can see I have some established modules for this course. And I want to start right now just with a preview of this is an example, it's a bad example of a module. This is what not to do. Here we can see I have a bunch of links that just have a bunch of the URL here. I didn't even change the wording to make it a user-friendly or reader-friendly text. And I have some attached files here as well. Again, did not rename the file name to make it reader friendly. I just quickly clicked on this spot and clicked on a file, and I said open, and it embedded it right here in my module. So this is the what not to do version. This does not follow best practices. It's just but however, this is the common way that we see modules being used when instructors haven't had the opportunity to truly explore what the best practices are. So that's the bad example. I have a welcome introduction module that I started that just literally has meet your Canvas consultant, a singular page. Then I have a flipped classroom module, which we'll talk about a little more in depth in a little while. But you can see that I'm making use of text headers and indentation. I have a face-to-face module, and I have another example of a self-paced module here. And this one is a blended learning module. And then I have a module that's built purely for resource procurement for students. So we'll get into the rationale and the reasoning behind everything that I'm showing you here today, and we'll get into how to actually create these modules. You have this handy dandy button at the top that allows you to collapse everything all at once, so it makes it nice and easy. And if I wanted to reorder my modules, I can click and drag and drop them into the order that I want them to be in. So what can go into a module? Well, quizzes can go into a module, assignments and discussions, pages, files, that means documents or media files, any type of external URL or website, text headers, and yes, even some of your external tools. So apps and LTIs. Those are all things that can be added to a module. And we do that by first we create a module. So I'm going to click on the plus sign module in the top right hand corner. That's one of the great things about Canvas. Anytime you want to create something new, the button to do that is typically in the top right hand corner. This is where you would want to create a module name. I highly suggest creating a naming convention for your module so it makes it easier for you to locate the items and put your modules in a sequential order that makes sense for the content that you teach. Modules can be organized by days of the week, unit of study, or even chapter. Typically at the higher ed level, we see them organized by week. So I could say week 1. You can use the format, whether it's going to be a face-to-face class this week. If it's a blended class, you have the face-to-face and then you have online 1 week, so you can mark whichever the target audience will be. You could just put in the unit of study for the week. I'm just saying case law, and then you can include any additional items here that you want. Sometimes we see the dates posted. And then I would go ahead and add the module. Whenever you add a module, they do go to the bottom of the page. If you would like to move this module to the top, you can click and drag it, or you can click on your 3-dot kebab on the right-hand side and say move module and move it at the top. So it brings it right to the top of your page if you prefer to work that way. So adding content can be as easy as dragging and dropping files to this location if you want to add any PDFs or images, but you also can click on this little plus sign in the top right hand corner of the module itself. And this is where you get a drop down to select your assignment, your quiz, your file, a page, discussion, and the like. I typically like to include text headers to help organize my work. And so I'm just going to do an introduction. And this could be an introduction or, well, we'll say objectives. I typically do not indent my text headers, but then again, it depends on the type of module you're creating. Right now, I'm just going to click add item. It's that simple. If I need to edit this, I can click on the 3-dot kebab and I can select edit. And maybe I didn't want to include the / objectives. Maybe I wanted it to look a little different, and I'm going to update it to look this way. So that's adding a text header. I can go ahead and click on this plus sign again. This time I want to add a page and I want to create a page, and I want this to be my lesson objectives. So I'm going to call it week 1 lesson objectives and overview. This time I am going to indent just to show that there is a difference between a text header and a page. And I'm going to say add item. When you create content from inside of a module, it just creates a shell for that page. So you create your organizational structure, and then you would go back in to ensure that you are adding content. So I have my lesson objectives and overview. Maybe I want to add in, I'm going to create another page, and this one is going to be week 1. It's not a lesson objective, but maybe it is a content page. You wouldn't write content page. You would give it a name. So the topic of what you're covering. Oops, clicking too many buttons. You can also include emojis, which we'll get into in just a few moments. Right now, I'm just going to have the topic, and then I'm going to add the item. So you could very quickly add content to a module. A better practice than just using week 1 and the topic would be to create another naming convention for the pages. So I've added 2 pages. I'm going to come in here and I want to create, maybe I'm going to send them to a discussion. I'm going to create the discussion. Here it's going to be week 1. I'm going to insert the topic. And then you can write the due date in here if you want. Doesn't need to happen. So now I can come in here and I can keep it indented 1 level, or I can indent it 2 levels and say add item. So now it's indented even further. So maybe this is the learning content and this is the to-do part of the lesson. To add something more, maybe I want to actually add a text header to help me organize that a little bit better. We're going to call this the to-do. And then I'm just going to insert it. And note how everything I add does go to the bottom. So now maybe I want to drag this up 1 more level. And maybe I want to indent this 1 more time. So this is the learning goals and objectives here and the content. And then maybe this is what they need to do after the lesson. But that's how you add in content into a module. And again, this time I'm going to add an assignment. I'm going to create an assignment. And I'm going to indent this to 3 levels. So it's in line with the to-do. So as you can see, it is purely just a shell. I've not gone in, I've not actually added content to these pages, but I'm creating the organizational structure for my module here. Now, one thing I want to say when you are adding content to a module is that you need to be careful when you want to add a quiz. There are some nuances with quizzes in modules. When an instructor adds a quiz item to a module, you will write yours is defaulted. So you're going to create your quiz name. You're going to say what assignment group you want it to go into and what how far you want it to indent. But when you're creating a module with a classic quiz, it creates some nuances to the ability to duplicate the module. If you want to add a quiz to a module, I would create a template module for yourself or remove the quiz, duplicate it, and then add the quiz back in. So here, I'll show you what I mean. Right now, before the module, I can come in here and I can duplicate this module because I do not have a quiz attached. If I come in and create and add a quiz, I'm just going to create a new one. And I'm going to add it to my to-do list here. Now the ability to duplicate is gone. So that is one of the weird nuances with classic quizzes is that you cannot duplicate a module with a quiz in it. So you'll have to remove the module, the quiz from the module, and then you'll be able to duplicate the module in the course. That's a great question, Chad. Not really sure. It has something to do with the fact that how classic quizzes cannot be duplicated. That's the overall feature, the rationale behind it. So when the classic quiz is inside of a module, it prevents the entire module from being duplicated. I'm not really sure about the engineering and the coding behind it that prevents it from being duplicated, but that is why you can't duplicate the module.
It's because quizzes can't be duplicated.
Classic quizzes cannot be duplicated. There is another quizzing tool. It's not turned on in your instance called new quizzes. It's an LTI. Oh, it is? It's an LTI. Those can be duplicated, but classic quizzes cannot be. So as you can see, when I duplicated the module itself, it just put the word copy at the end of everything. So all I would have to do is come in here, click on my 3-dot kebab. Maybe I'm going to change this to week 2, change the topic, change the date, remove the word copy. And then I would just come in and update these pages so you can create the course flow for your class, for your course, and then go back in each week and add the content to those pages and add the content to the assignments. But it's going to create how the structure of your class will work. You also can duplicate individual items from inside of your module. So in week 2, maybe I need more than one content page. I can click on the 3-dot kebab here and I can duplicate the individual page to create more content space to write text for students. But I want to give you some practice time because I'm talking a lot and it's important for you to actually practice the skills. Right now, it would be fantastic if you could, let me click back over to my slides. Create a new module and add 3 different content items to that module, and then practice reordering them inside of your module using that move tool or clicking on the cluster dots and dragging and dropping them where you want to be. I do have a timer. It's a 5-minute timer. I'm going to start that. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. If you need me to demonstrate how to add something again, I'm happy to do so. Okay, that was about your 5-minute mark. I hope you were able to successfully create a module in your course with several different content items. And we're going to talk a little bit more about these text headers and indenting and the rationale behind it. I want you to think about the total number of students that are utilizing mobile devices right now. We have over 4.5 million mobile app downloads as of January this year on Apple devices, and we have about 4 million downloads when it comes to the Google Play Store. So if you're not using the apps, your students certainly are, and it's important to take that into consideration when you're designing your modules. Using text headers and indentation in the mobile app allows students to easily see the content that's related to each other and lets them know what they need to do first and where they need to progress throughout the module. So it's a visual cue for students that the items are nested together. Coming in here, if I need to change this week 1 discussion and I wanted to drag it all the way up to the top, I can quickly edit the indentation to decrease the indent, or I can increase the indent even further. Maybe this discussion is related to this overview. Same thing with these headers. I can increase or decrease the indentation to show what it's related to, and you can really create a great organizational structure. One way that this is shown is in the flipped classroom model. Oops, sorry. Oh, it wants to be funny today. My mouse is playing games with me. Let's publish the module and all the content. We'll see if we could trick it. Nope. So we're going to collapse all and expand all. Okay, so you can see here how I've used the indentation to indicate what students are supposed to do before class, what they're going to do in class, the discussions that's related to the topic, and then I removed the indentations for review materials and when the final assessment will occur. So this is a great example of how you can utilize the indentations to show level of importance and how things are related to each other. One other way to show that things are related or to draw attention to a specific area in a module would be to use the emojis. So I'm going to edit the before class, and I'm going to come in the word before, and there are a few things that you can do on your keyboard to pull up your emojis. So you can, if you're using a Mac, use your control plus your command and space bar. Or if you're using a Windows device, you can use your Windows button and the period, or it might be the semicolon. I actually included the shortcut to hit the function key on my keyboard, and it pulls it right up for me. So I am on a Mac today, and I can come in here and I can search for a clock. And maybe I want to add the clock in here, although they'll probably laugh. Maybe we'll make it more like an Apple Watch, kind of. We'll put that in there. And so before class, it's timely. I can add an emoji of the watch. And then while they're in class, I can come in at this one. And I can search for the regular notebook. And then if it's a discussion, I can come in and edit this. I can come in here and look for people. I don't think it has a conversation. Nope. Chat bubble. There it is. and then update it. So I can use emojis to help draw visual attention to various things within my module. Yeah, the shortcuts are great. What I also want to say is I'm actually one of the facilitators for our Canvas Certified Educator courses. I have been facilitating the Core 3 course for personalized learning for higher ed. And one of the things that we emphasize is the personal learning journey and how you can offer differentiated assignments based on student choice and agency. So you could come in here and have images that help students pick the type of assignment so they can quickly see if you're using a color coding system for the certain type of assignment, you can quickly make students see that there's a student choice to this week's module of the article that they pick to review and how they choose to respond to it. So there's just some tips and tricks as far as how to actually utilize things like emojis, indentations, and text headers for the flow of your course. I'd like to provide you with an opportunity to actually play around more with the text headers. You can also go ahead and use emojis. If you don't like using the emojis on your keyboard, you can go to Emojipedia, where there's a lot of fun ones here, and you can search by theme or by color. And it will bring up the emojis that are associated with that. So Emojipedia is a great place to go to, or you can use your keyboard shortcuts, but go ahead, add those text headers within the module, practice indenting them or removing the indentation. Clicking too far, and then go ahead and add some emojis. I don't think you really need 5 minutes for this. I am going to shorten the timer down to 3 minutes. And then let me know if you do need more time. I'm happy to give it to you. Sure, the Mac system, you're going to go ahead and hit the Control, the Command, and the space bar at the same time. Okay, that was about 3 minutes. I am going to move us forward. There'll be more time to practice with emojis because that's not the only place that you can put them. I will say though, as a cautionary tale, usually in the higher ed institution, we don't see student information systems being used, but if there is a SIS integration for grade passback, emojis should not be used in assignment names. They can be used in the assignment instructions, but not in the name of the assignment. It's not something that's typically relative or important or impacts the higher ed world, but I do have to make that statement in case you're talking to colleagues who teach in the K-12 world who have assists for grade passback. Okay, so there are a lot of things regarding modules, and I can spend a ton of time talking about each component and the rationale behind it and the best practices for it. But just to get you moving throughout this content, controlling student access to the content is also a major factor. So you want to consider the flow of your course as much as you want to consider student access. And you can see here, I published this entire module at once, but down below in this face-to-face module, I have not published anything. I can come in here and publish every single piece of the module, clicking every single button. Okay, everything in here is published. This module is published. So I have that. I have 2 modules. And my bad example, I could put myself in student view. And right now I'm only seeing 1 module. Does anyone know why I'm only seeing the 1 module in student view? Any guesses? The module itself is not published. Yes, that is correct. It doesn't matter if everything you add to a module is published. The title of the module needs to be published. So this one has to be green. Now there has been an update recently in Canvas that allows you to publish at different levels, where you could publish the module only, unpublish the module and all of its content. So it takes away a lot of the clicking, which I appreciate. I can publish the module only, where it's only the top piece. And I could publish the module and all of its items. So it gives me a little flexibility in what I'm publishing. So now when I come back up to student view, I will be able to see both of the modules here. I'm gonna leave student view. So that's one way to control access, by publishing and unpublishing content. Technically, everything is in a draft state until I publish it. It's really important to publish the module as well as the content, because students will not have access to the published content if it resides in a container or a module that's not published. You also can choose to lock a module, and it automatically will open the content based on a given date. So now I have this example flipped module, and I have this face-to-face module. I can come in here and click edit, and I can lock this module until Thursday. I can even select a time if I want to, and update. So right now, it's in this state where it's saying it's unpublished and will unlock on June 29th at 12 a.m. So when I come to student view, the module's here, but it's saying it will unlock on this date. So I won't be able to turn in any of these assignments. It's going to be locked. I can't access the content. So that's another way. So you can lock your content in your modules until a certain day. Well, sometimes locking a module isn't always the best practice. Sometimes you want to allow your students to work ahead. So locking the module won't help them. You may want to start considering using prerequisites and requirements in that way. So let me come here. I'm going to work on these first two. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to publish everything. And I'm going to click on my 3-dot kebab and I'm going to go back to edit. This time I'm going to add requirements. And I can say that I want students to complete all of the requirements and I want them to do it in sequential order so they can't skip around. And then I can add a requirement for the objectives or overview. I can have them view the item, mark the item as done, or contribute to the page because it's a content page in Canvas. Clicking on view the item is okay. It just means that they have to click on it and then they can continue moving. You can set your dates to unlock each module by the date that you want it to open. Yes, that's something that you can do. But in here, I can lock until a certain date, and then I can control how students move through the content. So I can say view the item, but I like to say mark as done. You're also given the option to contribute to the page, and that's if you've given students the ability to edit. When you're creating a page, you can give the students the ability to edit the page and contribute to it. So that's what contribute to the page means. Traditionally, if it's something I want them to read, I want them to actually have to click on the button that says mark as done, because it shows me that they're actually reading the page and not just skimming through it to try to get through content. When I add discussions, you're only given the ability to view the item or contribute to the page. With discussions, we typically want them to contribute to the conversation. And with assignments and quizzes, you either have submit the assignment or score at least. And I'm going to give you some examples here. So submit the assignment just means they have to turn it in. If you say score at least and add in a grade here, that means if you have a quiz or an assessment that requires you to go in and manually grade it, the student has to wait for you to grade it and submit the score before they can move through the content. So that's up to you, but I typically just have them submit the assignment so they can move on. It doesn't put me up against the wall with trying to get everything graded by a certain time and day. You also have the ability that they only have to complete one of the requirements. If you're using student choice and you only want them to have to, you may want to create a module where all the student choices are there and they just have to do one of them. I'm going to go ahead and click on update this module. And then for the second one here, I'm going to come into the second one. I'm going to click edit. And this time I can add a prerequisite that says they have to do week 1 before they can do week 2. And then I can come in and add in all of the requirements for module 2. So now it wants to complete all of the requirements. And when I come to student view, it's saying complete all items. There's little circles here for me to see what's been completed. So I'm going to open up the first page. We're going to pretend like there's a bunch of content. I can click mark as done. It tells me it's done. And then I can click next. I'm going to click back to modules. And now you can see I got the little check mark. So I can't skip the discussion and go to the assignment right now because I have to do it in order and and then I can't go to the next week section until I complete all the requirements from the first week. As the instructor, you have this view progress button where if I had students rostered in this class, I would be able to see where students are in their modules and how far along they've gotten during the week. So I can actually do a spot check to see if students have stalled in their work or if they're continuing through their work. So the prerequisites and the requirements are really neat features that allow you to control how quickly students are going through your course content. So go ahead, you have some practice time again. Oops, I'm scrolling all the way back. There we go. Go ahead, practice locking a module, add prerequisite to it, add a requirement to it. So if you want to duplicate the module you created, or if you already have content in your Canvas course, go ahead, practice playing around with those features. And I will hit the play button for you to practice. And then of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. You only get the add prerequisite if it's the second module in your course. If you only have one module, you can't add a prerequisite to it. So just duplicate your module and then you can go to the second one that you duplicate, the one that you duplicated, and you can add prerequisites to that one. To get to the requirements and prerequisites feature, you're going to select the name of the module line, the top bar of the module, your 3-dot kebab, and go to edit, and they should all be there. Yes, this is being recorded. I am sharing the link to the recording with my contacts who then can share it out to you. You're welcome. That's a really great question. We can only view the student progress if we have prerequisites and requirement settings in place. You can view student progress if you're not using them, but it will show all modules as completed if the students have just viewed a singular page in the module. So setting up the requirements in a module will really allow you to see what they have done and what they haven't done within a module versus it looking like it's completed because you haven't set up any of the requirements. Oh, okay, sorry about that. I scrolled away accidentally. A faculty member was asking about a to-do list for students' progress. Yes, this could be an answer. They do get their own to-do list. All right, so I am navigating into another course really quick so I can show you what this looks like. I would have to take a deeper look. It could be the content that you have in there. Have you added more than text headers? You have to have pages and other types of content besides external links. Okay. Well, we have a little more time to talk about the progress monitoring for students really quick. And let me take us over here. Okay, so if you're clicking on the name of the line where your name of your module is, and you should have the edit button, you should be able to have requirements as long as there's content. You're using content from a previous LMS. It needs to be a Canvas page, assignment, quiz, discussion board. And it should have, if it's an external link that you're adding, the requirement would be to view that item. So I'm pulling up a student really quick. One second. Let me refresh her and make sure this course is published. My system is being very slow. I do apologize for that. Okay, she's been invited. Strange. I'll refresh that one more time. Of course, whenever you're presenting, it always goes wrong, right? I can stay on the line after the training and work with you if you need me to. My system's going a little wonky. Let me just close this. Okay, so adding your prerequisites and your requirements is really going to help you control the flow for your students in your course, but there are other things that you can do as well. So I showed you what it looks like to go to student view and view it from a student perspective. But one other thing you can do is actually limit your course navigation. One way that students get around having to go through modules, oh, here's a discussion. I can just click on the discussion board and now I can click into any of these that I want to go into. So that's one way they can get around utilizing the modules. Sometimes Canvas is smart in saying that it's in an unpublished module or that it's part of a module and it won't let them get access. But sometimes students can be a little tricky and sneaky and they get into it this way. So it is considered a best practice to edit your navigation of your course. And you can do that by coming down to your settings in your course navigation. Settings is always at the bottom. And then you'll have a couple of tabs across the top, and we want you to click on navigation. And this is where you can edit what students have access to see in their side of Canvas. So I don't want students to have access to files. I can drag it and drop it below the line. I don't want them to have access to the discussions. I can also just click disable after clicking the three dots, and it will move it below. Same thing with quizzes, their assignments. I don't want them to have access to those things unless I put it in a module. I also want modules to be really high up. Home, syllabus, modules, those are the first three things, and then announcements. Everything else after that is a choice of what you want them to see. Once you make changes, you're going to go ahead and click Save. Click back to Home. It's still thinking. I'll drive it over here. Okay, back to Home. And so now when I go to Student View, my course navigation is limited. The only thing I can click on is modules to get to work. And now I have to go through the click path that the teacher set up as a student to flow through the coursework that's been prescribed for me. So I can leave Student View, and then I can see everything has returned back here. And again, that View Progress button is going to be really important. Again, in order for the progress monitoring to be accurate, every module item must have a requirement. Otherwise, the module will show as completed, even if it's only been visited. So if you want to actually take full advantage of this button, you want to make sure that you do have requirements for everything in your modules. Also, another practice that we talk about is actually linking the summary page back to the home page. So in this course, in this module here, I have a summary page. I'm just going to unlock it for now. I can come in this page and I can insert an image. I don't know if I have a course image for it yet or not. We'll use my puppy. Why not? Let's make him much smaller. Canvas is being strange today. All right, so I'm going to take my puppy. I'm going to create a course link, and I want to go back home. Whenever I see the puppy, I want to go home. Let me edit that. It's decorative. Apply. All right. So in my module, I'm going to save that. Every time my students know, every time they see a puppy, they can click and it's going to take them back to the home page eventually. And it'll take them back home. So having that link inside of a module to take them to different course areas is completely acceptable. It's one way to control the student navigation through the course. It doesn't just have to be to the homepage. You can link back to the syllabus if there is an item that students may need more information on. If it's an assignment description that includes several components, you can link back to the syllabus. If it's a lesson objective that's more defined in the syllabus, you can link back to that. So it is considered a best practice to link to different areas of Canvas as well, not just things outside of Canvas. It's also important to think about students having offline access. Like right now, we are under a severe thunderstorm warning in Virginia Beach. We're expecting some really nasty weather to come through. I may want to go ahead of my class and download my content so I can work offline if I lose access to the internet. This is something that needs to be turned on at the account level. Students can download course modules with the export course content button. So this button up here, students have access to it as well. This will create an HTML version of the course that students can view offline, including any media that you have in your courses. I take a camping trip up into the Appalachian Mountains here in Virginia each year, and there is no cell signal. There's no signal at all. So I can download some course information and still have access to the course content. Jerry, I will cover that in a little while for you, okay? Oh, thank you, Paul. So helpful. I appreciate it. So with that being said, I can come in here, I can click on the export course content. It's thinking about it. I'm being impatient. And it may take a while depending on how much content is there, but the students will see this a little differently than the teacher, but they do have the ability to download the content that's in their courses. Okay. So with that being said, I want you to actually play around with your course navigation. So you're going to go to settings in your course navigation, click on the navigation tab, remove any unnecessary navigation buttons from student access, and then put yourself in student view to test your course navigation. From the home page, you can click on modules, see what's available, and then see what you can and cannot get into. I am going to go ahead and press this play button for you. And you have your time, and I'll be nice and quiet. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to post them into the chat.
Hey, Jessica, just for maybe my own understanding, even when the navigation is cleared up and like you don't want students to just access discussions, for example. If they're accessing it within the module, they'd still be able to use the breadcrumb to access the discussions. Is that right?
If they try to click on discussions to view all of them, it will tell them that it's been locked for the student to view. It won't give them access. If
Cool.
you see these little eyeballs, it either means there's no content or students can't see it. So they could try, but it'll block them and it won't let them open up that page.
Cool. Good to know. Thank you.
Welcome. The people section does give you a list of everyone that's enrolled in the class, and it should tell you their role within the class and their total time spent in the course. What the students see will be slightly different than what the teachers see. You're welcome. Okay, so that was about 5 minutes. I hope you found that time meaningful and that you were able to play around a little in the system. I'm dragging over another course. My system's being very slow. It could be the weather, who knows? I am in my K-12 demo course, but I wanted to show you what the progress monitoring does look like. And you can see here, I do have students enrolled in the course. I can click on each student's name and see what module they've done, but it only shows complete if you don't have requirements set for everything inside of the module. You can see Alyssa here, she's completed the leveraging modules webinar here, but Eric has not. So I can click through and see who has completed what. And I mean, I can click on the student and learn a lot more, but that's data for teachers. It's a whole nother training session that we could do. So I can always click back to my module this way and see what was expected. Right here, I only had complete one item. I did not have them complete everything within the module. That's why as soon as they view that first page, it looks like they did everything and they really didn't. Because I'm sure if I went to their grade books, I would see a lot of missing assignments. I wanted to be able to see that. Okay, so coming back to the actual course, I'm going to click back to home. Duplicating your modules is a really powerful tool once you've completely built them out. You can use it to add checkpoints to your Canvas courses. What I mean by that is if if your class doesn't do well on a quiz, not the quiz, on an assignment, you could duplicate the discussion and the assignment as the work you want them to do before they start their new work. So you want them to go back in, try it again. It's a quick way of duplicating more than one item at a time. That content can be revisited in the same way that you presented the first time, or you can edit and add points for remediation. There is more than just the way to duplicate though. So if I come back to modules, if you think about your module as a file folder, when you're working with colleagues, you often collaborate and share. So you can send your module to someone, you can copy your module to another course, or you can share the module to the Commons as well. So that's a neat little tool. If you're going to send to, it allows you to send it to other Canvas users in your instance, including yourself. All you have to do is start typing the person's name and they will populate in this area. There I am. So I could send it to myself. If I send the content to myself, it will show up under my account settings. Wow, it's slow. Under shared content. And that's when I can decide if I want to import it into a different class, if I want to delete it or just preview it. So that's your shared content. That's when you're using the shared to piece. You also have the copy to piece. It's a really powerful tool. It allows you to literally send an entire copy of your module to another course. You can start typing the course name in. It'll start filtering by the term. So when you're searching for courses, you can view courses where you have an active or future enrollment. Content cannot be copied to a concluded course. So if that course is over, you can't copy it to there. You can search, the search results are sorted by term with the default term first, followed by the most recent term start date, and search results within each term are sorted alphabetically and display the course name or nickname if you have one. If you have a course code and any term name. If it's a really long name of a course, it will wrap after 2 lines and then it will display an ellipses that you can hover over to see the rest of the name of the content, the rest of the name of the course. If you import the same course content more than once, it's going to overwrite any existing content in the course. So if you already imported the module, you made changes to the module, and then you import that copy again, it's going to overwrite the changes that you've made. So be aware of that. You can also share your content out to the commons, which this would take a long time to show you how to do, but basically you can publish your content to just yourself in the commons. You would select your share options, licensing, any kind of metadata that's associated with the module. So you would say to only me, your metadata, the description. You will need to include an image. It is a required field, but that's a great way to kind of create like a folder of all your favorite things that you like to keep from time and time over. If I copy a module to another course, will the links copy as well? Yes, the links should work. Okay, so that's copying over into the commons. So there's lots of ways to create and copy your items so that you have them from course to course, semester to semester, term to term, year to year. Oh, wow. Sorry, my Canvas account is acting all sorts of crazy. It just put me in Canvas for elementary. I don't know what's going on. I apologize. And it's duplicated. Yeah. Anyway, so it's a good thing because we are reaching the end of today's training. I want to thank you so much for being here with me today. I've really enjoyed presenting to you. You've had some really great questions. If you want to earn a badge for today's session, I'm going to go ahead and stick it in the chat box for everyone. We at Canvas have the Canvas credentials. We've purchased Badger, and you can start earning badges towards your digital backpack. Again, I want to thank you so much for your engagement today. I'm going to stick around for a few more moments. I am going to stop the recording. If anyone had questions, since this is my last day with you, please feel free to hang out and we can try to resolve any issues that you're having.